Tom, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I haven't been in this space in a long time, and it's lovely. So we're going to talk about all that, but I want to start with you as an artist. When did you fall in love with theater?
Actually, it's Matt Anderson to blame. I was a freshman in high school, and I grew up actually on the south side of Chicago. I went to Peace Lutheran on Fairfield, went to Concordia High School, but I had never seen a show. I mean, my parents were blue-collar folks, and my freshman year, at the end of it, I had a buddy, Matt Anderson, who was in Dirty Work at the Crossroads at Concordia High School. And he kept going, "You gotta come see the play, you gotta come see the play." And I was like, I don't want to go see a play. But finally, he was my friend, so I went and I watched it, and I went, well, I could do that. So the following semester, my sophomore year, I auditioned and I got the lead, and I was just kind of mesmerized ever since. And
I guess this needs to be asked. Does Matt know that he's responsible for the entire trajectory
I
of your life?
blame him every time I see him. I'm like, I could have made some real money if it wasn't for you.
Right.
So yeah, we're actually still good friends. And
Good.
Matt actually works for the federal government. He's all over the world. He's a brilliant guy. But yeah, I kind of offhandedly thank him because I like my life here. I've enjoyed being here. Be 22 years. Well, it's been 22 years at the end of December of 2018.
What was the thought when you interviewed for this job that is a theater in a church, but it's not religious theater, or was it at the time? Tell me about that, kind of that whole situation.
My first non-high school theater experience was right here on this stage when I was a senior
Really?
in high school. Yeah. But anyway, they talk about theater and the arts as a way to make real, make tangible what Thornton Wilder says, we all deep down in our soul know that there's something eternal. And I think that's why people go to church, and I think that's why people go to the arts. It's trying to make those things that are beyond rational thought tangible, that we can touch. And this theater, basically there are three primary thrusts for shows when I pick them. One is, how do human beings deal with one another? Two, how do we reach out and touch, I call it God, but the universe, those things that we all kind of feel deep in our bones that they exist. And the third is to celebrate our humanity. So when I'm choosing a season, I try to keep in mind shows that serve those three masters, if you will. And that goes really well hand in hand with being inside of a church. And a church, and by extension its theater, cannot be afraid of how human beings behave. So yes, sometimes people say bad words and they're offensive. We hope you're offended. Because there's a lot of offensive things that happen in real life, and examining them is part of what I would argue any human being should do, but particularly someone who is grounded in Christianity.
What was it like to kind of take on the role of leader of the pack? I mean, not only are you choosing the seasons, but you are directing, you're dealing with the business side. What is that like, and does it take any of the joy out of it for you?
I'm approaching my 60th year, finishing my 60th year on Earth, and you start to see your story in retrospect so much more clearly than when you're actually in the midst of it. It's kind of like when you're reading a novel and you get to the last 10 pages. It's like, well, of course all this stuff happened before.
Right.
And I think, to go to your question, what I didn't know about myself as a young person is I'm much better if I have a lot of control and am in a smaller petri dish. I think I'm less successful if I'm in a big organization. Because before I took this job, I was in some big theater departments, and I worked for some bigger corporations and hotels and picking up jobs here and there. And I was always happiest when I was in a place where I did a lot of different things, but I had, control's the wrong way to put it, but I had the ability to shape what was going on in my immediate sphere. And I think once I got here and that started happening, yes, it's a lot of work. At times I go, oh, I wish there was somebody else to make the program or to do the publicity or to whatever. But ultimately, I think it's been a godsend that I have been in a place where I have been able to, I think, flourish because it's the kind of place I've needed to be.
You are an actor, and I wonder how much all of those other responsibilities get in the way of your ability to act.
Yeah, I mean, after about 3 years in the job, I went to, we don't really have a board, we have committee systems here, but I went to the committee and said, I think I'm going to need to pick a play for me to act in, because I don't have time really to go out and act in other stuff. And they were okay with that. So about once a year, sometimes twice, I choose shows that I can act in, because I found not doing that really was starting to get in the way of me enjoying my life here on earth, that I need to act. And what I found then as I started growing older, if I don't do it at least once a year, but maybe twice a year, you start losing those skills, particularly memory skills, particularly, I mean, I used to see old people like me going, oh, the lines, it's just learning the lines is making me nuts. And I was like, it's easy. Not so easy anymore. But so anyway, it does present a unique set of circumstances. It's hard being up here on this stage and basically being selfish enough to go, I don't care about anything else except the moment of the truth that's happening in this imaginary scene. Because I can't be counting the audience and going, man, there's only 20 people up. I thought this show was going to make more than this.
Right.
I did that one night when I was acting, and I took a breath. I was in the midst of a 3-page speech, and there were like 12 people in the audience. It was really a small house, and I was like, man, where is everybody? This is a good show. I think it's a good show. But the other part of my brain's basically is a show about nuclear disarmament. And so the Russian diplomats talking about nuclear disarmament and if your side would do this. And basically I took a breath and went, where was I? And it was really scary.
There is no worse feeling for an actor.
It was awful.
Yeah.
But it goes to your question that the acting part of it, it's really hard to do when you're also trying to produce something.
Sure. You touched on it, but I kind of want to circle back. What is it about live theater that is so profound to you?
It's about the moment. When I act, and actually even when I'm producing it and when I'm in the back of the house watching it, it reminds me that everything that we have, this gift, this life, is not about what happened in the past or what happened in the future, although you have to understand that it's all connected, but it's all connected to this moment here. And how do we deal with one another? And how do we talk to one another? And what happens in the moment is how I judge my life. Now, what happens in the moment is influenced by what's happened in the past, and it will lead to a future, but you can't spend too much time thinking about that, or you'll miss this essential, beautiful thing, which is the gift of life, the gift of the moment. So it reminds me of another reason I love the theater is when I was a kid. I think I was still in high school, but it might have been my early college years, but I went down to Daytona Beach, and I was walking along the beach one morning, and there was a sculptor who was sculpting out of sand. And later in the day I walked by, and the first day he had built this probably 14-foot Leonardo da Vinci replication out of sand sculpture. It was amazing. Of course, that night the sea came in, washed it away. The next morning, he was out there sculpting again, and that day he had a ladder, and he built this 14-foot high Moses with the 2 tablets. And that night, the surf washed it away. But I think it's a perfect metaphor for both the theater and our lives, that you can't worry about what's going to happen to your work later. You just have to engage with it as much as you can. And I think that's true with human relationships, and the arts keep reminding me of that, and especially theater, because it's such an immediate now thing.
So when you are producing a piece, is it always your objective to get the audience to see that connection?
Kind of. I mean, for me, producing theater is a very selfish experience, because stuff that bothers me, stuff that makes me go, why is the world like this? I try to work out the answers in the work that we do, hoping that other people look and go, you know what, that's bothered me too. That's an interesting take on it. I don't think, how am I going to manipulate the way people think about the world? For me, it's very much about how can it teach me how to live my life? And maybe, I hope other people see the work and it speaks to them in some way. But I really don't think that you can decide how people should see your work. You know, I've always liked the phrase, artist is a gift title. You can't call you, I'm an artist. No, you're not. Somebody can call you an artist, but you cannot claim, you can just do the work. And so in doing the work, hopefully that will spread the ideas. And what we try to do here at First Pres is look at stuff that hopefully human beings will treat each other a little better. Hopefully it opens up the idea of a connection to something larger than ourselves. I call it God. Some people call it the universe. I don't care what you call it. I think if there's a spiritual connection, then it's valuable. And a celebration. We're human beings. We have this moment. Why are we not celebrating?
I think this community for the last 22 years has been privileged to have you here and to see that the art you produce can maybe hold up a mirror. So thank you for that, and thank you for sitting down with me today.
Oh, I've enjoyed it. Thanks.
For more information, visit firstpresfortwayne.org.
Arts in Focus on PBS Fort Wayne is funded in part by